Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. This is part 7, believe it or not, of us working through the Retro2 machine on Hacklerbox/VulnLab. Now, if this is the first video you're watching in this series, I recommend going back to part 1 and kind of hacking alongside me as we work our way through this machine. Hey, real quick, one of the best ways you can support me is by enrolling in one of my courses. I have everything from a beginner level introduction to hacking methodology to a course for red teamers and pen testers doing phishing and social engineering engagements. All of my content comes from my day-to-day work as a pen tester and red teamer in the field, and I also offer a lifetime refund guarantee. If you enroll in my course now and let's say 3 years from now you realize it wasn't worth it, send me a message. I will refund whatever you paid for the content. That's how much I believe that these courses will help you in your career. They're all incredibly affordable. Links are in the description. Enjoy the rest of this video. Once again, I'm doing this blind. I have not prepped ahead of time. I do not know what to expect. I don't know what rabbit holes we're going to fall into, but I'm giving you my full methodology, my full thought process as we work our way through this machine. So let's go ahead and pick up where we left off in part 6. In part 6, we were looking into privilege escalation. We read through that blog in a little more detail, and we're going to dive right back in there. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And here we go. So we finished reading through this blog, and the author, Itman, mentions he has a Windows privilege escalation check script that checks for this priv-es we were digging into. I wanted to dig into the script itself, so I figured we would look into it. So it says, after downloading the script and copying the Windows target machine, run it using one of the commands below. So we'll go ahead and run this script. Let's give it a shot. Now, I'm not going to, let's see, try to think of the best way to do this. Check all types. So I think we can just copy and paste the script. I believe we can go ahead and give it a shot. Maybe. Oh, what's all this base 64 encoded craziness? YOLO. Well, I'm curious. Obviously, this dude's legit. We've all heard of him. But I think we should just be able to run the script. Standard checks was human readable reports. All checks, all reports. All right, let's just do it. I'll grab the script. We'll do raw. Copy that, and let's head over to our RDP session here. We'll open up PowerShell, and I'm just going to create a text document, and we'll change it to a PowerShell script. So we'll do a text document, priv-es.ps1, paste it in, file, save as. We'll change this to all files, and then we'll change it like so, and hit save. Okay, and now I don't know if I can zoom in on this real well for you guys. If I right click and maybe do properties, we can make the font a little bit bigger. Not the window preview. So in like normal Windows nowadays, you just right click preferences and change it. This is the window preview. I don't actually see how to make the font bigger. Cursor size, buffer size, whatever. It's just going to be small. You guys will live. Let's go to desktop. We have priv-es.ps1. And if we look over at the steps here, I named our script a little bit differently, but he guides us through even how to run the script. But it is pretty simple. We're going to do the PowerShell execution policy bypass -C to run the script. And we can invoke the priv-es check. So I'm going to quite literally just copy that. But the thing that we need to change is just the name of the script. I just called it priv-es.ps1. Hit enter. Cross our fingers. All right. Well, let's... Oh. I don't know what's happening right now, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it's trying to enum stuff from what I can see. It's hard for me to see this. Okay, well, maybe this isn't the best way to do it. And actually, I can't even scroll up on it. Okay. Well, how about extended checks? How about human readable reports? All checks and all reports. Okay. Oh, we got a super chat from Kenny. Dude, thank you so much. All right, I will, dude. I'll give it a shot. I appreciate it. PowerShell version 2. Okay. I don't know, guys. I don't know if I'm going to use this script. Let's instead, we do system info. I'm pretty sure this is, yeah, Windows Server 2008 R2. So it should be vulnerable to some of the privest we said. But Kenny did a super chat just to ask us to run that command. So I feel like I have to run that command. Thank you, Kenny, for the super chat, and I will honor it. Let's do this. Let me zoom in so people can see, and we'll go ahead and try the zerologon. So I think it's NXC here on the Pwn box, and it is. So we'll do this. netexec smb retro2.vl-u LDAP reader-p, and then our password, which even Kenny has. Oh, we have another super chat. Hey, I will answer your question, Harrison Wells. Thank you for the super chat. Amazing question. I'll answer that in just a moment. But let's go ahead and grab the creds for LDAP reader right there. We'll jump back over to this, and we'll paste in those creds. And we'll try the module for zerologon. I think my syntax is correct there. And we'll give it a shot. This is for Kenny. Vulnerable. Kenny, you might be onto something here. I don't know if this is the intended pathway, but let's run with it. Good call there. I've never actually exploited zerologon. I've read about it. I've never actually found it on a pen test, though. So let's do it. But Harrison said, hey, Tyler, just got rejected last week by Rhino Security Labs. I know I was quite close and was turned down after missing a question on the technical interview. How do I find a similar entry-level role so I can try again? So Harrison, it really comes down to networking. I think when it comes to pen testing and cyber in general, the job market is rough. And it's less what you know and more who you know. The fact that you made it to the technical interview at Rhino is huge. Like, there was hundreds, I think over 1,000 applicants, and very few made it to the technical interview. So congratulations already on that. It sucks. It's a gut punch when you receive that message that, hey, we're not moving forward with you. But focus on networking, focus on personal branding if you don't already. Start a blog, start a YouTube channel, start a GitHub, things like that. That would be my recommendation to you. Also, feel free to DM me on Discord. We can talk a little more offline one-on-one. But dude, that sucks. But congrats on at least making it to that stage. All right, let's go ahead and check out zerologon. Since it says it's vulnerable, can we exploit it directly from netexec at all? I'm guessing not, since it pointed us to this CVE, but let's check it out. All right, requires the latest in packet from GitHub with added netlogon structures. Do note that by default, this changes the password to the domain controller account. This allows you DC sync, but also breaks the communication with other DCs, and we only have one DC in this instance, so we're not too worried about that. Only works on Python 3.6 and newer, blah, 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 blah. With the IP and net BIOS name of DC. DC sync with secrets dump using just DC and no pass or empty hashes. All right, and then we can restore steps if you install version blah, blah. All right, let's go ahead and give this a shot. I'm just going to grab this code down. We'll open up our terminal. We'll git clone. And ls will cd into CV 2020. And we'll just see what happens if I just try to run it with -h. Okay, so test whether domain controller is vulnerable to the zerologon attack. Resets the DC account password to an empty string when vulnerable. DC name should be the net BIOS computer name of the domain controller. Well, let's go ahead and give that a shot. So DC name would be the BLN1 or whatever it was. I don't actually remember what it was, but if we open up a new tab real quick and cat out Etsy hosts, I had it there. So I think this would be that option. So that's the computer name of the domain controller. And then we want to go ahead and grab our domain controller IP. So we'll grab that right there and paste it in. Rhino flash ejection getting rise up. Yes. All right. Cross our fingers and we'll see if Kenny the goat is going to come through for us here. Unexpected code from the DC. 322.122.5867. This might have been caused by invalid arguments or network issues. Well, what if I change the DC to just retro2.vl? Okay, indicates a name that was specified as a remote computer is syntactically invalid. So we do need the BLN01, and we're not getting anything there. We get the same error code from the DC, which I suppose we can look up what that error code is. We'll just say like domain controller error code. Bruh. I'm not doing your CAPTCHA. Do 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 do. Oh, is this the same one? The error could be a result of using a fully qualified domain name as opposed to the NetBIOS short name. Oh. I see. So, it might just be BLN01. Is that what it's saying? Haha! No freaking way. Did that actually work? All right, let's copy that for our notes. We'll go here. From Kenny the Goat. All right, so we have that, and you know what we should also show in our notes was the netexec command that we ran in order to see if it was vulnerable, and have that in our notes as well. So we'll go ahead and grab that. I'm just going to rerun that command. What's the best way to keep notes when completing any new CTFs or learning? The exact way I'm doing it right now. This would be my recommendation. Like, document your thoughts, document every command that you run, document what you're trying, even if it doesn't work out. The more that you can do that, the better that you can do. But now, since we were able to reset the domain controller's password, we should be able to do a DC sync attack. Now, if you don't know what a DC sync attack is, essentially, we say, hey, we're a domain controller as well, and we need to synchronize all of our hashes, all of our users. You need to give me all of your users and your hashes. And once we do that, we can get the hash for the KRB TGT account or the Kerberos ticket granting ticket account. If you have the hash for the KRB TGT account, then you can do a golden ticket attack. A golden ticket is a really nasty level of persistence in Active Directory that I've done that actually one time on an internal pen test. I got permission from the client. I was able to find, I think it was a service account that had DC sync privileges, and I was able to use a service account to do a DC sync and then create a golden ticket to demonstrate impact to the client. What's nasty about a golden ticket is even if you change a user's password, I can still authenticate as that user, including all the domain admins. And it's a crazy persistence attack because the only way to nullify a golden ticket attack, I believe, is you have to change the password of the KRB TGT account twice and wait for replication each time. So it's a pretty crazy level of persistence in an AD environment. Honestly, Kenny would know more than me. Kenny, let me know if my explanation there was correct, but that would be my explanation of a DC sync attack and then a golden ticket attack, which we might be able to try it here. So now, yes, we should be able to do secrets dump and then possibly just pass the hash. Oh, in the notes section, I use Notion for my notes. So what you see me taking notes on is a completely free version of Notion. Everything I show you, you're able to do yourself. I'm not using a paid version of Notion at all. But let's go ahead and give this a shot. So I think Impacket Secrets Dump is on this machine, and it is beautiful. Kenny says it was. All right, Kenny says my explanation was correct, so that means I was right. So thank you, Kenny, for the affirmation there. We'll do Impacket Secrets Dump, and we're going to do our Retro2.vl because that's our domain name. And now we just compromise the domain controller machine account itself. And the name of the domain controller was BLN01, I believe. Right? BLN01, and the $sign because it's a machine account, not a user account. And the password was blank. So do we just go like that? I think potentially. And then we'll do at bln01.retro2.vl. And if we go back over to the blog we were looking at. Oh, actually I closed it, didn't I? I think it's just DC. Okay, wow. Wow. I'll go back over to here. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, this is not... Oh, zerologon testing script. Okay, no, I think it's just to see. Actually, I think Kenny dropped the freaking syntax. Probably hasn't memorized. Just DC. Well, let's just YOLO it. Let's do all of it, bro. If we go back over to this, I think I can just do that. That's insane. It actually did work. We just did a DC sync attack and dumped all the users' hashes, including the administrator. Let's go ahead and grab this, including this admin user. So we'll grab all of this right here, copy that, and just add this to our notes showing the DC sync attack. And then we should be able... evil winrm/u administrator -h for hash, and then -i for bln01 retro2.vl. Am I using Microsoft Edge? So Microsoft Edge, I've noticed, works nicer with some of these browser-based VMs. You're not sure if it's intended? So the reason I don't think it's intended is because every machine on VulnLab has a hint. I don't know why this isn't working. We'll give this a second, but every machine on VulnLab has a hint, and the hint was like specifically looking at this guy's blog and like saying, hey, look at this blog, blah, blah, and you'll be able to find a privilege escalation path that has not been patched. Oh, wait, did I think I know what I did wrong. Let's try this. Let's go back over to our hints, or our hints, notes. Well, no, I think, well, okay, let's just try this. Guys, I always confuse myself on which part of the freaking hash is the NTLM hash. I'm pretty sure it's not that. Maybe the machine's so old that we can't even use WinRM or something. I'm not sure. But you know what else we can do? I believe you can pass the hash with X-free RDP. Otherwise, we can do a golden ticket attack. But if we do X-free RDP -h and grep hash potentially, all right, we can pass the hash that way. So let's try this way. Instead of password, let's do PTH for pass the hash, and we'll change our user to the administrator. And let's go ahead and grab the NTLM hash for the administrator from our notes. Right here. And what if we do it this way? Logon failure. Possible reasons are blank passwords are not allowed. Logon hour restrictions or a policy restriction has been enforced. Okay, that's fine. I don't know what this local admin account is, but let's try this local admin account and see if that works instead. Maybe it's because this administrator account, it doesn't like the RDP from there. So let's just try the admin account that we have. No. Okay, how about SMB exec? Or PS exec might work as well. We'll try SMB exec.py. All right, SMB exec. I don't remember the syntax for SMB exec. Oh, obviously we could use freaking netexec. Gosh, dude, Kenny the goat coming back in again. How does one remember all these tools? You don't. You Google a lot, you look at your notes, or you listen to Kenny the goat in the live chat. I'd eventually get, I mean, there's usually multiple different ways to accomplish whatever goal you're going towards. And once you solve enough of these machines, you just remember like, hey, if this tool doesn't work, I should try this tool. If this tool doesn't work, I should try this tool. The one thing though that Kenny's obviously pointing out is netexec has some incredible functionality. I mean, there's modules built into netexec for scanning for vulnerabilities, which is how we found zerologon, for exploiting vulnerabilities. Like you can exploit some of the ADCS vulnerabilities directly from netexec. But yes, you can use notes, but if you have Kenny the goat in your live stream, he is the note. So let's go ahead and try that. So with netexec, we can pass the hash as well with SMB. So we'll give that a shot. Retro2.vl-u administrator. And then -H, capital H for pass the hash. And let's grab the admin hash right here. All right, so we do have connection there. We are able to pass the hash. And I believe with netexec, we can also just run commands and or drop into a shell. Let's jump over to the netexec wiki. I mean, Kenny probably has it memorized. I'm pretty sure it's just a matter of appending the command that you want to run with netexec. For RCE, blah, 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 get input files, authentic command execution. Executing remote commands. All right, so we can just run who am I. So let's go ahead and give that a shot and see if it works. Looks like a lowercase x, and we can directly execute PowerShell commands using the capital X command. Does also apply to the real world when trying to remember all this. Yeah, using notes and just learning, guys. Constantly working on stuff like this. And look at that. We do have full RCE as an admin, which means we have pwned this machine, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and grab this and drop it into our notes. And now what we can do, we could get a stable shell, I suppose. We can all just do like dir c users administrator desktop, maybe. And you can see we have root.txt, and I can go ahead and grab that flag. We'll do type because it's a Windows machine. And I apologize, I'm not going to show you guys the flag. I've shown you everything you need to do to get to that point. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, see if that gives me the flag, and it does give you the flag. So I'm going to copy that flag out real quick, jump over to Hack the Box, paste it in. I'll share my screen in just a moment, but there we go. We have solved the machine. We successfully compromised Retro2. It only took 7 videos, but hey, we eventually did it. If we didn't have Kenny the goat in chat, I probably would have fallen down a crazy rabbit hole of trying to do privesc, but there we go. zerologon allowed us to reset the domain controller's password. Now, I will say in the real world, you generally don't want to run a command like zerologon. You don't want to change a client's domain controller to an empty password, at least the machine account, you could break a lot of stuff in the process. Instead, if this is a real pen test and we found that it was vulnerable to zerologon, we would immediately let the client know and just ask them, do you want us to try this attack? Or do you want to just us add this to the report so you can remediate it? And 99.9% of the times they're not going to have you execute zerologon, but rather report it to them so they can patch it. But this is what I'm curious about. What was the intended path? So what I like to do is look that up. So if we do Retro2 walkthrough vuln lab, there's me. There's my face. Not retro, I want Retro2. All right, here's a Retro2 write-up. Let's just see how other people solve this machine. And that's what I love about many of these machines is there's multiple ways to solve it. So before we end part 7, let's very quickly look at this write-up. So shout out to Liam Geyer. Give him some love or her some love. But if we scroll through like all the stuff that we've done. All right, so I think this must be the intended path. This version of Windows, the target machine is running is vulnerable to a vuln in Windows 7. So this is different than what we were looking at. We were looking at a different DLL hijacking thing, but these have permissions that allow a user to load a DLL system. This can be detected with privest check, and there's a tool Perfusion for exploiting it. To get this to work, I had to compile the tool. So you would have, generally with compiling a tool for Windows, you need to have your own Windows box. So we would have had to go into my Windows VM, use Visual Studio Code, and then build the solution. So if you ever see like, hey, you have to compile something, that's generally the process. Visual Studio Code, there's usually a build file or a solutions file, and you compile it with Visual Studio Code to create the .exe, which is what they're saying they had to do. They run perfusion.exe-c command-i, and it drops them into INT authority system, and they are able to get that. And it is the IT man person Perfusion, public archive. But so what you would have done was probably copy this code on a Windows machine and then compile it. All right, scroll through, read this before using the tool. I observed 2 different behaviors. It's loaded directly by the main process. It's loaded by a sub-process. I'm not able to explain the difference because my trigger code was always the same. Let the exploit do its job so that it can clean everything up when it's done. If the exploit fails, there's still a chance it will work a few minutes or hours later. And then exactly what I said. So it says everything's in here, but you do have to open the solution with Visual Studio, change the release to x64, and build solution. And it will spit out the .exe, and then you can do privesc that way. But yeah, very, very cool stuff. Yeah, the difficulty of this lab is technically easy, but it is a vuln lab machine, so I would say more medium. Definitely, like, this is significantly more difficult than anything you will encounter on something like the OSCP. Like, way harder than any OSCP machine or OSCP-like machine, but still learn a lot in the process. So, hey, thank you to all of you, especially in the live stream, who have been on this journey with me. And if you're watching this after the fact, thank you as well for being on this journey. Hope you learned a lot in the process, but this is video number 7, and we successfully solved the Retro2 machine on hackthebox/vulnlab. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.